Monsieur Etienne Traoré from Burkina, Mr. Kirata Tekira from Kiribati. You can come to the podium. If you, we have Yvonne Pascual, from Angola. And Halima Bawawari from Nigeria. And as we wait for everyone to be seated, maybe in the meantime, UN4NAPs partners that are in the room can just stand up and identify themselves maybe with the name of their organization. Now, let me just pass around the microphone really quickly, if you don't mind, so we know who you are, also that everyone knows who you are.
Hello, everybody. I'm from World Meteorological Organization. My name is Amir Delju.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Ilaria Gallo, and I work for the WMO World Met Organization in Geneva. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Eike Beere, UN University, working on the climate analytics section.
Good afternoon. Himanshu Shekhar on behalf of the UN University.
Hello, everyone. So this is Raphael Moser, a UNCDF local facility.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Philomena. I work for the Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Program, and we support the Pacific SIDS in accessing climate finance to do their adaptation planning and also support implementation. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Michelle Yonatani from UNHCR, UN Refugees, from the Climate Action Team.
Hello, everyone. Larissa Demel from the United Nations Children's Fund.
Good afternoon. Bianca Kretschmer from the Adaptation Fund.
Hello, Carlos Uribe, UNDRR, UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, supporting synergy between CCA and DRR.
Thank you all very much. And with that, oh, sorry. We have the UNCCD colleagues here in the first row.
Yeah, so we are from next door, a sister convention to our colleagues here. My name is Jones Moleso Karika. I'm joined by Professor Baron Orr and Dr. Olga Andreeva. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jones, and thanks to you all. With that, I would like to invite the country speakers, starting with Burkina. And the briefer and more concise we are, the more time we have for the discussion at the end. And also I would have a brief moment of question just right after every presentation, but really keeping it brief so that we really can benefit from this exchange. Thank you. Monsieur Traoré.
Okay, thank you very much. Bonsoir à tout le monde. Je vais m'exprimer en français. Les diapositives sont en anglais. D'accord, c'est un plaisir pour le Burkina Faso de participer à cet événement très important sur les questions d'adaptation, les plans nationaux d'adaptation. Donc, diapositive. OK. Donc, comme l'a dit à l'introduction, le Burkina Faso dispose depuis 2015 de son plan national d'adaptation au changement climatique. Donc l'objectif de ce plan, c'était de renforcer la résilience de notre pays face au changement climatique et de promouvoir l'intégration de l'adaptation dans les efforts nationaux de développement. Donc la vision de notre plan national d'adaptation, c'est qu'à l'horizon 2050, le Burkina Faso gère plus efficacement son développement économique et social grâce à la mise en œuvre de mécanismes de planification et de mesures prenant en compte la résilience de l'adaptation au changement climatique. Donc, après plusieurs années de mise en œuvre, plus de 5 ans de mise en œuvre, actuellement, le Burkina est en train de réviser son plan national d'adaptation. Et nous avons adopté une approche régionale, une approche locale, pour mieux prendre en compte les spécificités de chaque zone climatique, à savoir la zone sahélienne, soudano-sahélienne et la zone soudanienne. Cet exercice est favorisé par un exercice que nous avons bénéficié, à savoir l'évaluation de nos progrès à travers le NDC Partnership, qui a confié cette tâche à la compagnie McKinsey et Vidis économique, dans le cadre de l'initiative d'accélération des pipelines d'adaptation du secrétaire général des Nations Unies. Donc cette évaluation nous a permis d'identifier un certain nombre de contraintes et de besoins de financement. La première contrainte, c'est qu'au niveau du Burkina, on a constaté que nous avons des connaissances limitées sur les risques climatiques et l'effet des stratégies d'adaptation sur les différents secteurs. C'est-à-dire que les ministères sectoriels et les collectivités ont des connaissances limitées sur les risques climatiques et l'effet des stratégies d'adaptation sur les secteurs. Donc, par conséquent, les activités d'adaptation, des projets d'adaptation sont souvent dépriorisés dans les programmes sectoriels et locaux et aussi dans les allocations budgétaires. Comme en termes de besoins d'assistance, le Burkina Faso nécessite bien sûr un soutien pour une intégration efficace des priorités d'adaptation dans les stratégies sectorielles et aussi les plans locaux de développement comme les plans communaux et les plans régionaux de développement. Donc cela peut se passer par le renforcement des connaissances liées au climat des acteurs qui sont en charge de la préparation des stratégies sectorielles et locales. Aussi les formations sur les acteurs, former bien sûr les acteurs clés à développer une stratégie solide de mobilisation des investissements pour traduire les besoins d'adaptation spécifiques au secteur en stratégie claire. Par exemple, on peut prévoir une assistance pour identifier les sources d'investissement, par exemple. L'autre contrainte, c'est que nous avons une capacité limitée en matière de mobilisation des ressources. Il y a une faible compétence technique des acteurs pour mobiliser les financements. Par exemple, la connaissance technique limitée des mécanismes de financement de projets, comme les subventions, les partenariats publics-privés, les investissements fondés sur la dette, le cofinancement, etc., etc. Ce qui crée bien sûr des limites pour la préparation des demandes de financement. Comme besoin d'assistance, le soutien au Burkina pourrait se concentrer sur la construction, par exemple, d'un système de mobilisation de ressources. On peut bénéficier d'une aide à construire un cadre de mobilisation des ressources pour centraliser les demandes de financement des projets d'adaptation des ministères sectoriels, ou bien identifier les sources de financement potentielles et développer des mécanismes pour obtenir ce financement de manière rapide. Et aussi, il y a la formation des acteurs sur les compétences pertinentes à la planification du financement, par exemple les études de faisabilité, la gestion et la planification, par exemple, des investissements. Et également, l'autre aspect, c'est qu'il y a des difficultés à attirer des financements privés pour les investissements. Comme vous le savez, les projets d'adaptation ont peu de retour sur investissement, ce qui les rend moins attrayants pour les investisseurs du secteur privé. Donc, nous pensons qu'en termes d'assistance, les mécanismes et institutions pertinents pourraient donc soutenir un engagement accru du secteur privé dans la planification et la mise en œuvre des projets. Donc, on peut envisager, élaborer un cadre de mobilisation des ressources pour le financement du secteur privé. Le cadre servira de base de données contenant des informations sur les opportunités de financement et les soutiens disponibles dans chaque secteur clé de l'adaptation. Okay. Autre contrainte, c'est qu'on a des difficultés pour le suivi et évaluation des actions d'adaptation. il est ressorti que dans le PNA de 2015, les indicateurs tels que présentés manquaient de précision, notamment en termes de calcul, de valeurs de référence, de ciblage. Et aussi, il y avait une absence de base de données et de systèmes d'archivage des informations. Donc, en termes de besoins d'assistance, un soutien pour la définition des indicateurs de suivi des actions d'adaptation et leur évaluation est très nécessaire. Cela peut se passer par le renforcement des capacités sur la définition et l'affinement des indicateurs, le renforcement des capacités sur les outils et suivi et évaluation des actions d'adaptation, le renforcement des capacités sur la création et la gestion de bases de données, ou bien le renforcement des capacités sur les systèmes d'archivage des données, par exemple. La dernière contrainte, c'est qu'on a des capacités limitées en matière d'études de vulnérabilité à l'échelle locale. Comme je l'avais dit à l'introduction, dans notre nouvelle approche, on veut faire des études de vulnérabilité au niveau local et aussi avoir des plans locaux de développement. Et on s'est rendu compte qu'on a une faible maîtrise des outils de modélisation climatique, par exemple, des outils d'évaluation de la vulnérabilité climatique, et sans oublier la disponibilité des données fiables. Donc, en termes de besoins, on peut penser au renforcement des capacités des acteurs sur la conduite des études de vulnérabilité à l'échelle locale, notamment sur l'identification des risques climatiques et des expositions actuelles et futures, ainsi que les secteurs prioritaires, les moyens de subsistance et les groupes de population les plus vulnérables au changement climatique, sans oublier le renforcement des capacités sur l'analyse des données climatiques. Je pense que c'est l'essentiel de ma présentation. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you very much, Monsieur Traoré. And I hope that everyone was, even those that don't speak French, were able to follow thanks to the slides in English. We have time for 1.5 follow-up questions. Any immediate need for clarification or immediate input? Thank you, Raphael.
Just Raphael again from the local facility hosted by the UNCDF. So I just wanted to make sure that, of course, we met recently for the local board. So I just wanted to make sure that that you are aware of the assistance provided by the UNCDF through the local facility to Burkina Faso, where we have launched last year together with the government the assistance for the establishment, actually, first of all, the piloting of this mechanism, which will be integrated within the government systems for the transfer of grants, all the way down to target communities. So far, we have 3 target communities covered by this mechanism. And as part of the local support, there is also some TA and capacity building support for downscaling climate models to the commune level. So the idea would be to provide, the localized climate data for communities across Burkina Faso, so that they can actually, first of all, understand that data and use the climate, assessments and vulnerability assessments at the local level to really inform the development plans and for ensuring effective adaptation plans. So I just wanted also to share that experience. Of course, we are now in the pilot phase with 3 communities in this first phase of implementation, but the idea would be to scale up as we continue supporting the country, mobilize additional support. And as you know, we are also part of this regional proposal with the BOAD to access GCF funds for local in Burkina Faso that will take this mechanism, finance mechanism coupled with TA and capacity building on adaptation to additional communities. Yeah, I don't speak French, but anyways, if you can maybe help with some summary.
Thank you. Thanks, Raphaël. Vous aviez compris plus ou moins, j'imagine, non, Monsieur Traoré? Comment? Bon, d'accord. Raphaël a expliqué que justement au Burkina, le programme local de UNCDF est déjà actif et est en train d'agrandir son soutien. Et je pense Monsieur Moza sera disponible aussi après pour en discuter d'une manière plus approfondie. There was someone else that had their hands up. Okay, sorry. Okay, maybe That was already 1.5, but maybe we can stretch it a little bit.
Okay, I'll jump on the half. But if I may get a view from the presenter in terms of or if there's a gap between the development and the implementation stage, what are some of the challenges that you're facing transitioning from the development of the NAP into your implementation?
Je vais vous traduire la question. C'est qu'est-ce qui sont les lacunes, les défis au moment entre la formulation et la mise en œuvre du PNA. Et on prend une autre question.
Yeah, thank you. I was wondering if the presenter would imagine whether it would be helpful for him in his work if the NAPs were, for example, sector-specific and more detailed for each sector. So basically a revision of the NAP process. Yeah, my name is Catherine Wenger. Thank you.
La question c'était si ça aurait été utile ou ça serait utile d'avoir des approches sectorielles dans le PNA. Oui. OK.
D'accord, merci beaucoup aux différents intervenants et merci aux représentants du local. Voilà, c'est bien noté, on prendra tâche avec lui pour le déploiement du local au niveau du Burkina. Le processus est actuellement en cours avec le mécanisme local. Et concernant les questions sur les lacunes, les défis, comme je l'ai dit dans ma présentation, quand on a fait l'évaluation, on a pu identifier un certain nombre de lacunes. Ce document est là, peut-être qu'on pourra être partagé avec l'intéressé pour qu'il voit clairement les différentes lacunes et les défis qui se présentent à nous. Donc la présentation, c'est juste un échantillon que voilà, j'ai présenté. En plus de cela, il y a les questions de mécanismes de coordination entre les différents acteurs, les questions de suivi et évaluation, les questions d'évaluation des progrès que nous avons accomplis et bien d'autres. Concernant l'autre question, il faut dire que la première version de notre plan national d'adaptation était basée sur les sectoriels. Donc on a des PNA dans au moins 7 secteurs et un PNA global qui fait la synthèse de tout cela. Donc dans la mise en œuvre, on a compris qu'il fallait aller plus au niveau local parce que l'adaptation est beaucoup plus locale. Donc dans le document, dans le document de la deuxième version de notre PNA, il y aura les deux approches, une approche sectorielle et aussi une approche locale. Voilà, donc c'est pour dire que l'approche locale sectorielle n'est pas occultée, d'autant plus que la première version était basée sur les secteurs. Voilà, merci.
Okay, I will quickly translate. In terms of gaps and challenges, this was also shared in the presentation, and we will make the presentation available on the event website. Some of these challenges or gaps include a coordination mechanism between different actors, as well as monitoring and evaluation, and others related also to capacity building. Regarding the sectors, the first NAP that Burkina developed has 7 sectors, which were then merged into one global NAP. And this, in the second edition of the NAP, or the revision, there will also be a stronger integration of the local questions. So there will be both this horizontal and the vertical approach merged into this new NAP. And I hope that answers the questions. And we will have hopefully still time at the end when we will have heard all presentations. And I would now like to move to Kiribati. Mr. Tekiera, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon and Maori to you all. Thanks for the UN4NAPs for this opportunity to discuss the challenges encountered in Kiribati's NAP process. I really appreciate it. I will present these challenges in no particular order and with the limited time we had, so I guess I'll just dive right into it. Next slide, please. One of the challenges encountered in the NAP processes in Kiribati is dealing with sea level rise and coastal erosion. This involves the limited land availability. Kiribati already has limited land availability, and add on to that, sea level rise and coastal erosions create obstacles in implementing our NAP, including building protective infrastructure and so on. Moreover, with the growing population, it becomes even more critical to identify suitable land to address these challenges. The next is limited financial resources. Implementing adaptation measures for sea level rise and coastal erosion requires substantial financial resources, and which can be challenging for a small island nation like Kiribati. Securing adequate funding for infrastructure development, build back better efforts and sustainable land management is crucial, but may be constrained by the country's limited economic capacity. Another one is relocation and community resilience. Relocating communities in response to sea level rise and erosion is a complex and sensitive process in Kiribati. It involves not only physical aspects, but also social, cultural, and economic considerations. Balancing the needs and aspirations of affected communities while ensuring their patriotism to be resilient to the adverse impact of climate change poses challenges in terms of planning, coordination, and community participation. Another one example is international cooperation. Addressing sea level rise and coastal erosion requires collaboration and support from the international community. Kiribati is facing challenges in assessing and coordinating assistance. Technical expertise and financial resources from international organizations due to factors such as bureaucracy, limited capacity for advocacy, and competing with global priorities. Next slide, please. Another challenge we encountered in our NAP process is, of course, financial constraints. Example of these challenges are insufficient funding for infrastructure development. Adequate infrastructure is crucial for implementing adaptation measures, such as building seawalls, relocating communities, and improving water management systems, and the list goes on. However, limited financial capacity can hinder the construction, maintenance, and upgrading of infrastructure, impeding the implementation of necessary adaptation projects. Another one is the dependency of external funding sources. Kiribati relies heavily on external funding and international assistance for financing adaptation projects. And a reliance on external funding also makes Kiribati vulnerable to fluctuations in donor priorities and funding availability. Through our NAP process, we come to understand that the most challenging aspects of NAP cycle is implementation, primarily due to the financial constraints. Responding to the negative effects of climate change requires significant investments, which can be a burden for countries with limited resources and fragile economies like Kiribati. Additionally, being one of the countries vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, plus the difficulty of coping with the situation is daunting and requires careful consideration. Next slide, please. Another challenge we encounter in the NAP process is data and information gap. The first one is a limited availability of climate data. Accurate and up-to-date climate data is essential for understanding current and future climate trends, identifying vulnerabilities and designing appropriate adaptation strategies is part of that. Our Kiribati is facing challenges in assessing comprehensive climate data due to the limitations in data collection, monitoring, and analysis. This can hinder the country's ability to make informed decisions and prioritize adaptation actions effectively. Second one is data quality and reliability. The accuracy, reliability, and consistency of available data are crucial for effective decision-making, obviously. And Kiribati is facing challenges related to data quality due to limitations in adequate monitoring systems, lack of capacity for data validation and verification, and this can undermine confidence in data and its usability for adaptation planning. Limited access to technology and data sharing platforms is also an example of the data and information gap. Access to technology and platform for data storage, analysis, and sharing is essential for efficient data management and dissemination. Thankfully, through the NAP GN, we have been supported with the vulnerability assessment database, which was created ideally to store data, analysis, and sharing. However, this is only for vulnerability assessment data. We are looking at the digital, and what we are looking for is a digital platform that is interactive for all climate actors in Kiribati to report on their NAP activities, and at the same time report to national communications such as the BUR and BTR and others. It would be even greater if this digital platform can allow climate actors to direct contribute to monitoring and evaluation process of the NAP. Next slide, please. Another challenge in the NAP process that we also encounter is limited technology transfer. Examples of this limited technology infrastructure, Kiribati's remote location and small population presented with significant challenges, particularly for this critical issue is the lack of access to electricity in the outer islands and the unstable internet connectivity, which impedes the transfer and adoption of new technologies required to implement adaptation measures. The second one is high costs. The high expenses of acquiring and implementing technology can pose a significant challenge, particularly for a small island nation like Kiribati with limited financial resources. The costs involved in procuring and maintaining advanced technological solutions can be quite exorbitant, therefore hindering technology adoption and effective transfer. Number 3 is capacity building. Capacity building is crucial for the effective implementation of the NAP. It is essential to have a skilled workforce that can operate the technology with ease. However, Kiribati is planning and seeking support in developing the necessary expertise to use and maintain new technologies for adaptation purposes. The fourth is technology compatibility. When introduced technology from external sources to Kiribati, compatibility issues are always encountered due to the differences in local contexts and conditions. To avoid any problems, it is crucial to assess whether the technologies being transferred are appropriate for the local environment. This means considering factors such as climate, geography, and cultural practices. Number 5 is on knowledge and awareness gaps. In order for technology transfer to be successful, local stakeholders must possess a solid knowledge base and awareness. The 6th is on sustainability and maintenance. This is to ensure that the sustainability and maintenance of transferred technologies is an ongoing process that requires continuous support, capacity building, and maintenance. Kiribati is encountering obstacles in terms of training local technicians and experts, acquiring the necessary resources for repairs, and maintaining the technology in the long run. The last one is intellectual property rights. Assessing and adopting certain advanced technologies may prove difficult for Kiribati due to intellectual property rights. Negotiating agreements and overcoming legal barriers can present challenges in technology transfer processes. To tackle the difficulties at hand, we need a comprehensive strategy that involves global cooperation, programs to enhance local capabilities, financial aid, and customized technology advancements that suit Kiribati's distinct circumstances. I think that's my last slide. With these challenges, I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And I believe we were just presented with a wide range of challenges and needs for technical assistance. And I invite you to, if you have one brief remark or comment, because we have a little behind time here. Amir?
Thank you very much, Kirata, for your presentation. Actually, WMO's role is to assist countries to get access to high-quality data, to expert network and methodologies and tools that we advocate for countries to use. We normally receive such requests through UN4NAPs, but this needs funding support and financial assistance, because we need to hire consultants either to come to the country or cooperate with us to fill the data gap, to control the quality and those things. We have also provided climate information platform, which is open source, accessible to all countries. You can choose the location and get downscaled information. UN4NAPs can make it available to you or us directly. But on your side, we expect that you cooperate with the nationally designated authority of your country to GCF to facilitate the access to fund. This should really be driven from countryside, not from us. It's a big challenge to meet financial resources required to tap into technical assistance. This is a mandate and request from our side. You should do it at country level. We cannot do that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Amir. And without having had to put her on the spot, we also have a colleague online, Shana from WIPO, who has her hand up. Just a moment, we couldn't hear you. I think our colleagues...
Can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Okay. So thank you, Kirata. My name is Shana Tabrizi, and I represent the World Intellectual Property Organization. And my question relates to the challenge of knowledge and awareness gaps when it comes to technologies. So looking at Kiribatis NAP, there's reference to the need for several technologies, such as innovative technologies for strengthening disaster risk preparedness and hydroponics. So to what extent do you experience the identification of appropriate adaptation technologies as a potential barrier? And in this context, I'd like to bring attention to the role and support that WIPO and WIPO Green can play in terms of identifying the appropriate technologies. We host a database of more than 120,000 solutions, and many of these relate to adaptation. And we also recently launched the Green Technology Book, which last year focused on adaptation technologies. And very simply put, it's a publication linked to an online and freely available database to showcase innovative adaptation solutions. So we're very happy to explore how this can be leveraged to support you in your NAP process.
Thank you very much. Some reflections.
Okay, thanks. First of all, for the comments that you made. It was duly noted, and thanks for that. Financials, the support for the climate access platform and those advanced knowledge on climate change were noted. For the question on what appropriate technology adaptation that I was referring to, and of course, like you have mentioned, there's a wide of technologies need across the adaptation effective measures in the context of different contexts. I'll just, to give an example of that is, I'll take the coastal protection adaptation. I mean, in adaptation, I think with the technology that we had, or the measures that we had now in Kiribati, is just mass concrete seawall for art measures, and for the soft measure is the mangrove replantation. And I believe from our travel and workshops, there are lots of other measures out there, and it's just a matter of learning how to implement, and maybe to build capacity for engineers back home to expose them to this kind of technology. Thanks.
Thank you so much. In the interest of time, I believe it would be good to move on, and let's try to continue the discussion at the end. And I now invite Yvonne Pasquale from Angola to present the current priority needs in Angola. Thank you. And sorry, just to add that we now heard from 2 countries who already are in the implementation phase, and now Angola and Nigeria will present their challenges that are more related to the formulation of the NAP.
Okay, thank you very much for the UN4NAPs to giving us the opportunity to be here in this afternoon and sharing the challenge we are facing in formulating our NAP. And I apologize, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I'll be then listing some of the points concerning the challenge we are facing in our NAP formulation. And I would like just to start by presenting a little bit my country. Angola is a multicultural country. Its population is estimated in almost 30 million inhabitants per area. We have a total area of 1,246,700 square kilometers and a vast coast area over 1,060 kilometers. Evidence of climate change in Angola, I can say that the country has registered, among others, recurrent cycles of droughts and floods that affect several areas in the country, in particular the southern part of Angola. The state of Angola's NAP formulation is as follows, and I will also share a little bit of the background from where we started trying to formulate and where we are right now. Just to share with you that soon after adoption of in the ratification of the UNFCCC, its instrument, and the elaboration of the first communication, elaboration and submission of the first communication on the greenhouse gas inventory, we started then with the first identifying priorities, adaptation, action for Angola. The first substantial effort was to identify priority, adaptation, action for Angola, was carried out in the National Adaptation Plan Action preparation since 2010 and during 2010-2011, which identified several areas such as promoting alternative renewable energies for avoid deforestation, promote SLM for increased agricultural yields, ensure basic access to health services and health monitoring, study the vulnerability of fishing activities in relation to modification of climate and the currents, revise sectoral laws, proactive for adaptation, create early warning system for flood and storm, among others. Then the second stage was then the National Climate Change Strategy, which was started in 2017, and recently in 2022, last year, we approved the revised one. That the overall objective, that approved update the priorities for adaptation. Third, the Angola National determined contribution, that the overall objective is to increase the country's adaptive capacity in order to protect ecosystems, people, livelihoods, and strategic sustainable development and economic investment. So, after all, a workshop was developed A workshop to develop the NAP roadmap was held in 2015 with the preparation in partnership with the UNEP. From then, we started then facing some challenge for it in order to move forward or to reach the formulation, the end of the formulation for our NAP. And there are several challenges that did not allow that conclusion, from which we main state limited the human capacity, limited the human capital and lack of capacity base for adaptation planning, lack of effective decentralization planning system due to particular historical and the political context of the country, because Angola faced a very long period of a civil war, limited financial resources and gaps in technical capacity, and limited experience on coordinated stakeholder engagement and the country development trajectory. From those, then we could also identify some opportunities, such as a greater diffusion of information on climate change adaptation, inclusion of climate change in the agenda of a transformation, the National Development Plan as a transversal issue, political will, both at sectorial and national level, Interministerial Commission for Climate Change and Biodiversity was established, promotion of climate change initiative to create raising awareness on problematics related to the topic of adaptation. Well, I don't have much to share because, as you know, we are trying to end our formulation or the elaboration of our NAP, but we can conclude saying that Angola is very committed to create raising awareness on the problematic. Is very committed and to conclude our NAP formulation. But I would like also to inform that some steps have been started, like after the 2015 insertion workshop with the UNEP, it could be, UNEP could elaborate a readiness and preparatory support template proposal, where our stage now is to mobilize funds in order to finish this process of formulation for NAPs and then pass to implementation step. And in order to reach funds to finalize our NAP formulation, we are we are now looking forward to those comments from the institution, the GCF in this case, because I think the template had been submitted by UNEP, if I'm not wrong. So we are waiting then for that stage of comments and approval of that template so that we can move forward. That is what I can share for now. I hope on the next event we can be in more condition of sharing which progress we reached to NAP formulation and then implementation. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Yvonne. I believe we have time for one very, very quick comment, from UNU, I see. Himanshu?
Seems to be on. Yeah. Hi, Madam Pascal, thanks a lot for your input. I just wanted to share that some of the challenges that you have raised, we have also heard through the UN4NAP channel from other countries, and UNU has been extremely delighted to help Ethiopia, Mali, and Togo. We are in the process of discussing these challenges. So any technical assistance, particularly on stakeholder engagement, vulnerability assessment, risk management, and so on, we are happy to support the process along with other UN agencies. And we look forward to the communication from your side and definitely the help from Secretariat. Thank you.
All right, I suggest that we keep further questions for the discussion at the end, and I would suggest we move to the presentation by Nigeria. And again, this is going to focus on the NAP formulation rather than implementation, but I believe that there are important lessons to be learned from those countries that are currently facing certain challenges in the implementation. Maybe some of the things can be considered right from the start, so that could be a good learning opportunity. Nigeria, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Good evening, everybody, and wherever you are, morning, afternoon, and evening. Basically, as Angela said, Nigeria is sharing its experience in developing a NAP. We kind of find ourselves at the last born of the NAP process, unfortunately. So basically, unlike Burkina, we got our own support for the readiness and preparatory support from the GCF through this project that has been enumerated on the slide. I'm trying to make up for time. Basically, also, just like every other country, is to strengthen our capacity to develop an app and, of course, to implement it thereafter, develop our capacity for budgeting, for adaptation also, and integrating it into all our climate change processes. So the focus of our NAP project basically is taken from the 13 thematic areas we had for our earlier NASPA CCN, now put in one place as the NAP like every other country. And our project location or area is the middle of the country because that's where we have more food production, what we call the food basket. So what are the expected outcomes of this project? Could you go to the next one, please? Expected outcomes, of course, are bordering around the issues of strengthening our governance and coordination capacity to undertake the NAP, capacity to mainstream it. It's also about enabling us to develop our capacity for having a funding strategy for its implementation. And of course, our capacity for monitoring. What have we done so far? We've so far established a steering committee, we've established 4 working groups, and we've engaged national consultants. But however, we are here now trying to request for a no-cost extension by the GCF, and we're hoping that this project would finish by December of 2024, at least, at the worst, at early 2025. And we are hoping from this point on to train the steering committee and working group members. What have our challenges been? And we feel it's important to state this so that we all learn from each other. I've learned already from the presentations made, and I think the partners could also learn from the challenges that developing countries go through in establishing some of these processes at the national level. We are late because we've had issues with bureaucracy at the national level. We do need to engage other governments, ministries, departments, and agencies for administrative approvals, for financial procurement processes, for account opening. And some of these interactions kind of drag out the timing for the development. The possible technical assistance, I would believe, in these scenarios could be that our partners help us in having some kind of workshop in raising awareness and enabling us properly engage and brief our national partners on the project so that there isn't too much time used in explaining the project and what it would do for the country. Next slide. So there's also, we had issues with aligning partner agency procurement processes with the national processes. What we had was our development partner processes had a request for a dedicated account. But in our country, we now have a policy where you have to put all the funding in a single treasury account. So that kind of became another issue, trying to explain to the partners and trying to get it streamlined with the national financial processes. What kind of technical assistance could countries benefit in this situation? I think it's about continuous engagement with the national project and between the national project and the executing partners, so they understand that these are the situations that we have to face in trying to establish the framework for the project. And we also had management and administrative changes. This is not a TA problem, more of a technical, more of a political and administrative national problem, but we're able to scale that. Next slide, please. So where are the issues now? The issues are that we do need to develop concept notes, concept proposals, bankable projects, like I've had been said by our seniors in the NAP process, Burkina, where they have investment projects that would enable us to submit to the GCF or any other partner. Usually this is it requires real technical capacities, which we don't have, and I guess some of the countries in our situation don't have either. We would like to have proper capacity support in the areas of agriculture, which is, well, these areas that I had brought out are basically areas that would enable us resilience in the ecosystem itself, in communities and their livelihoods, and of course, sustainable development and general economic development of our country. Agriculture is a very important sector for Nigeria, is an important NDC sector. Our people are largely agriculture-based with their livelihoods, and our economy, a second economic sector is agriculture. So it will be great to have the agricultural sector proposals pushed in and done well and pushed in. There's also projects we would like to have put together for freshwater and coastal water and fisheries. But I think basically on issues that relate to the coasts, and coastal erosion could also help here. Forests, as we know, we have about 3.5% deforestation rates in Nigeria, and this would be great to have the forests projects put in a proposal that would enable us also have co-benefits, biodiversity, and of course the health sector. Next slide, please. We would also like to have support on effective monitoring and evaluation. We were told when we were trying to develop, or we pushed projects on afforestation and some for land use under what we call the sovereign green bonds that our country issued towards enabling us at least implement some of the NDC projects, especially in the Afolu area. And the pushback we kept having is that adaptation is not measurable, so it's not something that most funders would like to take a risk on. So we also would like not just evaluation and monitoring, we also like to have a learning system that will enable us continuously revise and implement. The kind of technical support we would want in this area would be capacity building on these concept nodes and developing the MRV for those sectors that we have enumerated. The next slide is just generally talking about the further technical assistance areas we would appreciate. One of it, of course, we have had across the table with my colleagues, capacity building generally would be very much appreciated. We also suggest that we should have a kind of platform that enables countries to share knowledge and experience and interact, just like we've been able to do here. This would enable us to also kind of address our data generation and data quality deficits in the country. We would also be appreciative of effective engagement, some kind of support to enable us effectively engage at the national level, various stakeholders, and also engage and include the subnational governments and vulnerable groups in adaptation processes, whether it's the development or the implementation of it. For long-term project sustainability, it is not enough to have consultants come in and help us sort out a process that should be nationally owned. There would be a need to not just have that, but also include within this assistance local and institutional capacity building of experts, so that on the long run, countries are able to manage the process by themselves. The last here I have is the information hub. We would appreciate an information hub on the available resources. We're just getting to hear about the various funding support or technical support that is available. There would be, it would be very useful to countries if we have a hub where we could just click into and find out what resources and partners are available to countries on the NAPs. And we thank the UN4NAPs and all the partners that are here to listen to the issues we have in trying to either implement NAPs or, like last bonds like Angola and Nigeria, developing NAPs. And after this, I just thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Halima, for that presentation on challenges in Nigeria. I would now like to open the floor first for a quick, immediate question, and then we have a larger discussion on all the presentations.
Thank you very much. My name is Salisu Dahiru from Nigeria. My intervention is not specifically to Nigeria, but I think to all the 4 presenters. I see a missing link somewhere because all the presentations are talking about technical support or financial support to do the NAPs, and I'm wondering whether does any of the countries enjoy the privilege of having some financial support through the in-country budgetary system for adaptation? And if it is true, let us know how much it is, so that at all times it should not be that we are expecting everything to be done by development countries to be relying on outsourced financial support. So if we're enjoying anything from the budgetary system, let's know it. And if there are things that the NAPs, the UN4NAPs Secretariat can also provide additional leverage for us to be able to get additional funding in country, we can ask for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's keep that question in our minds while we still maybe have one concrete follow-up question to the presentation by Nigeria or comment. Esther?
Thank you very much for all your presentations. My name is Esther Makabe, and I work with the Group on Earth Observations in Geneva. I just wanted to mention that we have a lot of products and services that in addition to what my colleagues from WMO mentioned on climate services, that can help you monitor and assess whatever you're looking at. Is it agriculture, production? Is it coastal erosion or coastal receding or things like that? And we have, I think Nigeria is a member of the group as well, so you can reach out to us and we can see what to do. We are also developing guidances on that countries can use to do their own analysis. They are like providing technical resources and the how to use those technical resources. Angela has our contacts. You can reach out to her through us.
Thanks very much. And just one comment or question. Do we have someone from UNITAR in the room by any chance? No, okay. The point you made on the training, the trainers, is something that UNITAR is working on. So I will also put you in touch with them. And yeah, Ilaria.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, my comment is really related to this one on capacity development. As WMO, as well as with other partners in the room, including GEO and others, GCF, FAO, UNDP, UNDRR, and UNITAR, we are currently designing and delivering regional training workshops really aimed at building national capacities at the regional level as well as at the country level to develop climate science information for adaptation, for NAPs and LDCs, and in general for climate action, to facilitate access to GCF, Adaptation Fund, JEF, the main big funders, as well to build partnership with the private sector. And the training is very interesting. It doesn't look only at the climate science part, so climate data, projections, predictions, the analysis of pests, and also the assessment of the hydromat system, but also focuses on the full value chain, how to develop a project proposal that is based on sound evidence and the best available science, and therefore looks also not only at the science, but also exposures, vulnerabilities, and look at the non-climatic components, socioeconomic indicators, metrics, as well as the vulnerability parts, trying to involve also and builds on the knowledge of indigenous communities, local communities, etc., etc. And this is why the next training workshop is going to be held in Indonesia. In Southeast Asia, we are targeting 5 countries. We are going to bring into the country 20 experts, as I said, from UNDP, UNDRR, GCF, GEO, WMO, of course. And then we are going to work with the national constituencies. Won't be just NMHSs, the hydromet services, but also the Ministry of Forestry, Agriculture, Water. We are going to target different priority sectors that are expressed, identified in NAPs. So we bring really different actors from the country. And we also try to foster this knowledge exchange, the interaction between different stakeholders that sometimes is very challenging. So if you are interested in such kind of events, please either through UN4NAPs or directly to us, we can discuss. But this is all really built on capacity development. And actually UNITAR is part, they helped us to design the training program. So the training is all based on the latest methodologies, interactive, user-friendly, etc., etc. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ilaria. And also keeping in mind that the title of our session is Scaling Up Technical Assistance, I want to also challenge a bit the UN4NAPs partners in the room and ask if there are some elements that were presented today that make you want to rethink some of the things that you do, or some of the ongoing work that you may present that is in relation to what countries presented and that directly speaks to that. Yes.
Thank you, Angela. This is more or less related with that, but at the beginning it was a question for the 4 panelists. And just taking into account the negative effects of disaster on the adaptive capacity of countries and communities, have you been working, looking for synergies between disaster reduction action and climate change adaptation actions that are included in the NAPs you're working on?
Thank you very much. And there is more information available from UNDRR on this, if you like. Yes?
Hi, good evening, good afternoon, not evening yet. Manuel from IOM. I wanted to know what is your feelings about, it can be to any of the countries, on the inclusion of human mobility in the issues of adaptation, because we know that climate change will significantly impact the lives of many people, and in certain cases adaptation will not be possible. How do you feel about this conversation and the discussions of guaranteeing there's a subsection on the NAPs to account on how people will adapt or have to use mobility to adapt to what is to come in these countries? Thank you.
Thank you. So now we have 3 general questions and 3 minutes left to answer those questions, and 3 more hands. We could go on a little longer, maybe. The next session is in 18 minutes. So if you want to stay in the room, we can continue. Otherwise, we would need to close very soon with these 3 questions, maybe. I see there are 3 hands, so maybe be really, really concise. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be concise. I'd like to compliment the colleague just spoke from IOM on human mobility, Michelle from UNHCR Refugees. So for us, the interest is also, of course, on the inclusion of highly vulnerable populations. I noted those who were talking about local adaptation plans, vulnerability studies. This is fantastic to hear that that's happening, and a real opportunity to really make these NAPs inclusive and the local ones inclusive. We're also just announcing, in fact, today, just to highlight for everyone, a new multi-stakeholder pledge. So we're heading towards the end of this year to a global refugee forum, where part of this pledge is exactly this. It's around climate finance, so it's linked to issues of climate action, financing climate action. But part of that is about these inclusive NAPs, especially getting support for hosting countries. So 3 of the countries represented today are generous hosting countries for refugees. So really, we're trying to mobilize for you much greater support and see where we can help ourselves. Thank you.
And there were 2 more hands, if you can be really, really concise. Thank you.
So, thank you for the opportunity. In 2021, countries revised their NDCs and submitted it also. So one of the things I noticed in the African NDCs, the developing countries NDC, is that they scaled up activities for adaptation. So my question is, how do we assess funding to be able to implement these activities that is embedded into the NDCs? And what are the reporting channels? Do we report it differently, or do we integrate it into the NAPs?
Hi, I'm Baron Orr from UNFCCC, and I just want to make a comment that all of you talked about land at one point or another in your presentations. I think all of you have committed to setting land degradation land degradation neutrality targets, and it's everything that you've described is right in line. So the ability in country to leverage that momentum, half the world's commitments towards land are in the LDN context, and there's no reason it can't be directly brought into what you're trying to do for adaptation. Thanks.
Okay, I will quickly repeat. We have general questions related to national budgets and to which extent they cover adaptation, or they can, the budget, or countries can tap into national budgets to respond to adaptation challenges. Then we have a question on integration of climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction. A question on the integration of mobility questions into this, a question on refugees, and also an offer to enhance support there from UNHCR. And the question on reporting, we'll have to get back to that separately. And the question on land, or again, also an offer of support from UNFCCC. So maybe you can just pick one of those, that is whatever's most relevant for you, and provide a quick comment before we have to close. Thank you.
Okay, since you said to pick, I'll pick the Nigerian one. So basically, have we had, he said enjoyed, I'm not quite sure about the enjoying of the support, but we do have a national kind of provision for adaptation. We did have support, as I said earlier, the sovereign green bonds we raised in twice. and we had support for the afforestation projects. And we also have within the national budget provisions given for, how will I say, is vulnerability mapping first, and then checking out what the hotspots really were. In as much as, yes, the government is making efforts towards adaptation, which is a priority for Nigeria, it's never enough. We have a country that is that large, with that many diversity of not just the people, the ecosystems too, from the drylands to the rainforests. And we have the differences in environmental issues that climate change impacts on. We do also have issues of conflict management, and that dovetails into issues of refugees. Yeah, we do have conflicts, but then it's further exacerbated by the issue of climate change, especially in the drylands of Nigeria. And of course, it's never enough funding. But I do acknowledge that the government of Nigeria has made efforts towards projects that have adaptation inclinations, and will continue to push on that. And as I said in my talk, it's difficult to quantify adaptation impacts, you know, so the national partners are a bit wary about putting their money in adaptation projects.
Thank you. As for me, I will just comment a bit on the question concerned with if is there synergies between climate risk disaster and the climate change effects. What I can share here is that in our case, we are now working on an integrated strategy plan where we would like to aggregate those risk climate disasters together with the ones from the side from climate change, because I think we may be aware that it had been held a high-level meeting on damage and disaster in the USA, I think 15 days ago. And what I know is that in our side, we then try to work on a draft plan, on a draft integrated plan where we can see all these issues assembling. Yeah, maybe you answered now.
Okay, I think I'll go with the how do we feel on the inclusion of climate mobility in the NAP? Well, with the second edition of the NAP that we add, climate mobility is not included. The reason why this is not included is because one of the NGOs in Kiribati, the Angola, made an assessment in 2019 on whether people wanted to move from Kiribati to other countries to for climate change. The assessment concluded that the majority wanted to stay put in Kiribati and adapt and to be resilient, regardless of the impacts that they were aware of. And so the governments, with this, knowing that climate change is an issue, they created the intra-island kind of mobility to relocate those who have prone to climate change impacts to further inland and build better efforts that have been made. So yeah, that's the kind of what we have done with the notion of climate mobility in our adaptation and NAP. Thanks.
D'accord, merci beaucoup. Le commentaire global au regard des dernières questions que moi je pourrais apporter. Il faut se dire qu'il y a beaucoup de défis à relever, il y a beaucoup de choses à faire. À notre niveau, nous avons mené beaucoup d'actions. C'est vrai que nous avons aussi lié notre CDN et puis les PNA. Et aussi nous travaillons à intégrer pas mal d'actions innovantes comme les questions de genre, les questions de mobilisation de financement, les questions de prise en compte des personnes les plus vulnérables comme les personnes âgées, les jeunes et les femmes, et aussi les personnes qui vivent avec un handicap. Donc c'est un travail continu que nous allons mener, et sans oublier l'éternelle question de mobilisation des ressources internes, voilà, etc., etc. Merci.
Just to repeat in English, before we will close, I see that I think there are people for the session that follows already coming. Okay, sorry. So in Burkina Faso, there are lots of challenges related to the implementation and also different actions that the government is undertaking. Both the LDC and the NAP were submitted, and in both the government tried to integrate questions related to gender and also addressing most vulnerable groups like elderly, persons with disability, and also women. And finance mobilization has been a challenge, and as well as the mobilization of internal resources, which leads back to the question by Nigeria initially. I believe we will have to close, unfortunately, but I just want to repeat that all the presentations will be shared online on the event website. We also had a list of participants. I hope you received it and put in your name so that it's here in the front. So, or there are several ones, okay. So that we will be sure the information reaches you. We also have from the different partners already those that are online. Some shared already links. And others that are here in the room are most welcome to share inputs based on the presentations that we heard. And of course, we are available throughout these 2 weeks for any follow-up meetings. Just message us and we'll be happy to facilitate that. With that, I thank you very much. Thanks a lot to our 4 excellent speakers. And I hope to see you also next week, same place, same time, Wednesday afternoon. Thank you so much.